How do you get started with writing? This is the most common question that I face with aspiring writers, but actually sometimes also with people who've been published before, but they've hit a bit of a brick wall. And it's as though someone is waiting to be given a magic key. And I've been in that position myself. In fact, I am almost in that position at the moment where I'm sort of in between projects and I'm wondering what to get started on next. So I'm almost in the position of coaching myself sometimes, and I have to talk to myself to get going. So, what would I say to someone who comes up to me and says, "How do I get started with writing?" Well, I always say start small. Whenever you come up against a problem in life, it's usually better to break it down into smaller chunks. Otherwise, it just gets so overwhelming, you don't know where to start. And with writing, it's exactly the same. So, to anyone who really wants to get going, but they're not sure, I'd say start really small. For me, it would be buy yourself the nicest notebook that you've just had your eye on for a while. I've got a lovely independent bookshop here in Penzance and they sell beautiful journals. So, it's not difficult to be tempted by one of those. And I like writing in pencil because then there's no sort of commitment really. I can pretend it doesn't matter because it's just pencil. So all my journals are written in pencil. I never rub anything out. I try not to cross anything out. I try to just keep going. So I would say set a timer for 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. That's all you have to commit to. And just write and try and switch your brain off and just go with those first thoughts. You're not at this point writing anything beautiful or crafted. You're literally just getting the words out on the page. It's what some of you might have heard of Julia Cameron. She talks about morning pages in her book, The Artist's Way. This is a very old copy that I've used many times. It's a fantastic 12-step program for recovering creatives who are sort of blocked by fear. But anyway, her major point in this book is every day she says write for 3 pages without taking your hand off the page or pen off the page, keep moving. For me, 10 minutes is good because then it's time's up, and actually 10 minutes goes so fast and you can write a lot in 10 minutes. People are always amazed by what they can achieve in that time. And if you do that every day, you accumulate words and actually you also work out what it is you want to say. I always say 80% of writing is you working out what you want to say yourself, and the last 20% is you crafting it for a reader who's not inside your own brain. But you can't do that straight away. So people come to me and they say, "Oh, when I write it, it's rubbish." And I say, "Well, yeah, that's your first draft. That's your first attempt. You've got to make a start. You can't sit down and write perfect novels, perfect poems, perfect crafted sentences straight off. All the people who you admire, they will have spent ages crafting all their work. They don't sit down and write something perfect straight away. So just get started and write in very, very small chunks and just set yourself very, very small goals. Every new start is tricky. I find it the same every single time I start something new. There's always a resistance. It's not so much that I can't come up with ideas. That's the thing. Ideas are actually the easy part. People always say to me, "Oh, I've got this great idea for a book, but I just can't find the time, or I don't know how to get started." Well, the idea is the spark. It's the ignition. It's the little pilot light. It's the thing that's there tempting you, but it's not going to come to you fully formed. And I don't care who says that books come to them fully formed. I think what they mean is they've got this great idea. They've got an idea of the world they want to create, the characters. But of course, it doesn't come out perfectly crafted. So you have to chase that idea down. And the only way you can do that is to sit and write and turn off judgment or expectation. And I'm saying this to myself just as much as I'm saying it to you, because I've got an idea at the moment that in my head, it's marvelous. But every time I sit down to write it, it sounds clunky. I know that's part of the process. So ideas are not the difficult part. Committing to writing is the difficult part. But as I say, if you break it down into small chunks, you will have much more success. And I've been feeling like this with a novel that I've been writing for 4 years. It started out as an idea in lockdown. It felt like the best idea in the world at the time. And I started by doing lots of reading around the idea and research, and then sitting down to write. I could not pin down the voice or the character for a long, long time. It has taken 4 years to get it to a stage where I'm happy with it. I'm going to talk more about it on Substack, and I might do some readings from it just to give you an idea. I might even show you the difference between a rough draft and what I ended up writing, and talk about the editing process just to demystify really what it's all about. But even Substack, coming on Substack for the first time, it's a whole new thing for me. I was born in the 1970s. We didn't have computers when I grew up. So this whole thing of getting used to putting myself out there on the internet, recording videos like this, I'm used to teaching on Zoom and that sort of thing, but this is new for me, and it's a great, exciting new idea, but I'm still playing with it. And I'm hoping you'll be with me on the journey, because I know I'm going to make mistakes, but that's part of the process and that's fine. I think the more we own up to that, the better it is for everyone, because we're not saying this is how to be a genius, this is how to do it. It's a learning curve all the way through. Every single project you start is a learning curve because it's new. So sometimes people think, oh, I've got to plan it all out before I start. Planning can feel very daunting to some people. For some people, it is the golden key. Plan it out, they know where they're going, they follow the map, they're really happy with that. For me, planning comes later in the process. And actually, I would argue really it does for everyone, because I don't believe anyone wakes up on day one of an idea, plans it out and writes it. I don't believe that. So even those people who are ultra planners, and I may interview some of my friends who would call themselves that to sort of show you what they do. Even they spend a time, sort of few weeks or even months, meditating out their ideas before they actually get to the planning process. For me, I have to do the writing to do the meditating out. So it's no good just doing the reading, making notes in a notebook. I have to start. So everyone's different. So for me, I don't really mind where I start. So I've started books, as in I've sat down and started writing a first scene that has ended up being a scene later in the book, or in the middle of the book, or maybe being jettisoned altogether when it comes to the rewrite, but it's got me started. The planning has come in later. Usually I hit a wall at around 10,000 words, because I can be quite excited for 10,000 words. Obviously, for longer books, for picture books, it's a different process altogether. But usually I hit a bit of a wall. At that point, I have to sit back and think, okay, what's the bigger picture? And that's when I do planning. I will do a mini masterclass on structure for those of you who are interested later in the process of doing these classes. So where to start? Well, I always think the best place to start, if you really are unsure and you're unconfident and you want a bit of hand-holding, the best place to start is with a prompt. Now, one of my favourite writers about writing is Natalie Goldberg. I'm sure some of you have come across her books. She's wrote Writing Down the Bones is one of her most famous, and Wild Mind, this one is another one. I also love her Writing Down the Bones deck, which for any of you who are into pulling prompt cards, or the randomness of it, it's quite fun. You just pull out a card, take a card, read the prompt, and then write. And Natalie Goldberg is a real one for set a timer, do short chunks. So I'm borrowing that idea from her, really, because it's worked for me so well over the years. So I'm going to set you a prompt now. Set your timers and go for it. I don't want you to overthink it. That's the best way to get going. So the prompt is for you to use however you would like to. I always say this to people. It doesn't have to be a fictional piece that you write. It can be from life writing, especially if you're exploring memoir. This could be a good jumping off point for you. I'm giving you the prompt in the first person, I, but you can change it to he, she, they. It's completely up to you. You can write it in the past tense, the future tense, if you like, the present tense. Completely up to you. But this is the prompt, and then it's up to you to just go for it for 10 minutes. And I'd love it if you do this prompt to get back to me and let me know in the chat how it went for you, and whether you found it useful, frustrating, whether it led to something new, whether it actually just didn't go anywhere. I'd love to know. I'm open to all comments on this. This would be great. So the prompt is, the first time I saw, and that's it. So over to you.